The man has a strange habit. He knocks on the table 1,000 times before every meal. And it was this very quirk that changed his entire life. One day, the man was cutting fish at the cannery as usual. He cut off his own finger without even realizing it, and packed the severed finger into a can like a sardine. By the time the man realized what happened, the cans had already been sealed and delivered to supermarket shelves. To find his finger, the man came to the supermarket every day, picked up cans and shook them vigorously, listening carefully for any unusual sounds inside. Even though he spent all his savings buying all the cans produced that day, he still couldn't find his finger. Just as the man was about to give up in despair, on the shelf of a roadside convenience store suddenly came a familiar tapping sound. It turned out the man had always had the habit of knocking on tables, and this finger was still restless even after being severed. The man happily bought the can. Unexpectedly, after opening it, inside was really his lost finger, so he eagerly attached it. The fit was exactly the same as before, but the next day during mealtime, the man felt something was off about this finger. It didn't seem to be his lost finger, because he kept having the urge to pick his nose. Just then, the man heard knocking from next door. He immediately realized this finger was likely his own, and right now, the other person was about to use his finger to pick their nose. The man couldn't take it anymore. He rushed forward, grabbed his colleague's wrist, and began fighting over the use of the finger. After 2.5 hours of struggle, the man successfully retrieved his finger, while his colleague threw a tantrum on the ground, cursing the man as a robber. Not noticing a severed finger was thrown in front of him, the other person looked around cautiously, quickly picked up the finger from the ground, and immediately attached it to his own hand. And so, the two successfully swapped their fingers back, and thus they became close friends. To avoid having their fingers cut off again, they decided to leave the bloody assembly line together. Later, Hyun found a job as a security guard. Here, he met a particularly strange girl. This woman had a peculiar habit. Whenever she saw a bottle on the ground, she would pick it up and take it home. After cleaning them, she would store the bottles. Over time, they actually piled up into a mountain. Unexpectedly, this mountain actually became a popular local tourist attraction. Every day, young couples would come to check in, leaving plastic bottles as tokens of their love. Besides this unique hobby, the woman also suffered from severe oct. Every place she saw had to be spotless. Items on shelves also had to be neatly arranged. Whenever she had free time, she would pick up a white book and read it carefully. Ridiculously, she didn't understand the words in the book at all. Even so, the woman still persisted in reading every day, because she firmly believed it was a divine book. As long as she understood its contents, she could definitely change her destiny. In order to read this book, the woman came to a foreign language tutoring class to work part-time, hoping to secretly learn while working. Until one day, she accidentally learned this book belonged to a middle-aged man, and the man was an environmentalist. This made the woman even more certain that this white divine book was a mission given to her by heaven. From then on, the woman embarked on the path of environmental protection, picking up trash on the streets every day, and giving cleaned bottles to colleagues, wanting others to reuse them. But after all, not many people had environmental awareness, so she was rejected by many people. But she didn't, because, instead of giving up, she decided to work even harder. Indeed, persistence pays off. One day while the woman was protesting, she unexpectedly saw the owner of that white-covered divine book. She excitedly ran up to him, wanting to ask him what was actually written in this white book. Unexpectedly, he told her this white book wasn't any divine scripture at all, but rather an adult novel from Italy. Instantly, the woman's spiritual world completely collapsed. She never expected that the faith she had held onto for so long would turn out to be a huge joke in the end. The deeply affected girl decided to leave this place of heartbreak. After Hyun, who had always had a crush on her, learned the news, he suddenly felt life had lost all meaning. Heartbroken, he planned to end his life. Just as the man was about to hang himself, he suddenly heard someone calling his name. He turned to look. There was actually a human-headed gecko lying on the lampshade, and this gecko was none other than his grandmother, who had died a year ago. Grandma slowly recounted her wonderful reincarnation experience, saying that after she died, her ashes were eaten by fish in the river. Not long after, the fish were caught by people and then made into grilled fish. Who would have thought the fish wasn't fully cooked yet, when it was eaten by her ex-wife's 3 foolish sons? After eating, the children ran to the field with diarrhea, becoming organic fertilizer for the crops. After the crops matured, they were eaten by locusts. Then the locusts were caught by farmers, made into fried snacks and sold at street food stalls. By chance, they were bought by the man. Unexpectedly, one was stolen by a female gecko in his home. The next day, the female gecko laid 3 eggs in the corner, and so Grandma hatched from the egg, becoming a human-faced gecko. After hearing Grandma's journey like reincarnation experience, the man instantly no longer wanted to die, so he once again boarded the train back to the big city. Then he came to Plastic Mountain. Unexpectedly, Xiaomin, whom he missed day and night, had also returned. Actually, Xiaomin also deeply loved Hyun. After the two opened their hearts to each other, finally, the lovers were united, living a blissful and carefree life.